This team found itself with three losses early last season, and then they rebounded. They showed the pride in the program, the pride in who they are, and showing that even if they didn't win an ACC championship, that they were going to show all the teams that were contending for the title, we still really own this conference. They haven't lost a game in the ACC, but when you have this big buildup as an undefeated team, and these guys, they're on social media, they hear all the pundits, and they know how the landscape shapes up in the Big Ten, the SEC, and that a undefeated season might be necessary to get to the playoff versus now. Who knows? I would certainly argue that a conference champion with one loss should be strongly considered in every possible way, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of credit that they're going to gain with the rest of their schedule, even though it's a fairly difficult run now with Louisville playing better, South Carolina. There's all sorts of mixed opinions about how good they are, and probably taking on a North Carolina team that obviously Clemson's going to hope shows up at 11-1.
Yeah, I see a lot of fans over the past couple of days talking about how it's time to start the freshman Cade Klubnik at quarterback, and the reason they give is because there's nothing to lose now, and I could not disagree with that more strongly. This team still has plenty to play for. We're talking about a team. Let's just assume for a minute they have zero shot at making the playoff. You're talking about a team that's still looking to keep a long streak of 10-win seasons going, a team that's still looking to win a conference championship, get the best bowl destination possible, best payout possible for a school that is, in the ACC, who is trailing behind some of these others in revenue. So that's always something to consider. And then there's always pride to play for. But I just, when you say there's nothing for them to lose, I can't wrap my head around that train of thought. There is still a ton to play for in this season. And while Clemson's playoff hopes are absolutely on live support, I do think there's a path. I think it would take a lot of craziness. I mean, they're going to need a ton of help, but there's a path there. I mean, it's not impossible. So, I mean, there's still that to play for as well.
If we've arrived at a place in this college football playoff mess where a team can finish 13-1 or 12-1 and be a Power 5 conference champion, and we're telling them that they don't have a chance to make the playoffs, then we got some real problems. I know that Clemson's not going to have a victory that looks impressive. I know that they're not going to have a win against a Georgia or Oklahoma or whomever you want to put in that spot. Typically, that is that kind of, but those wins, there aren't many of those wins to spread across the country. That's why those teams are competing for champion, because they don't lose games. So there's only going to be a few of those anyway. So wins over what's turned out to be a pretty damn good Louisville team, North Carolina, Florida State, NC State, Wake, South Carolina. Now, obviously, it would have helped had that Notre Dame loss been more like 35-28 instead of 35-14. I get that that's what it's all about, is the optics, not so much that they lost, but that Notre Dame's lost 3 games and that they got their rear ends kicked. But still, 12-1, and I'm with you. There's still a whole lot to play for, and I think an ACC championship should still mean a lot. It should.
Yeah, Dabo Swinney kind of touched on this morning, and let me start this off by saying, no, I don't think Clemson has looked like one of the 4 best teams in the country. Just because I say there's a path still there to the playoff, that doesn't mean I think they're national championship caliber team, because I don't think they are. But like I said a minute ago, Dabo Swinney said there's only one thing off the table for this team, and that's going undefeated. And that's not even one of the goals they go into every season win. They have 5 goals. Win the opener, win the division, win the state championship, win the conference, and win the closer. And he made sure to remind everybody this morning that Clemson's only had 1 undefeated season since he's been the head coach. Every other year, they've taken at least 1 loss. They've never been left out of the playoff as a 1-loss conference champion. They might very well be this year, but up until now, they've not been left out of the playoff with 1 loss. They've made it twice as a 1-loss team, I'm not mistaken, twice. So, I mean, again, there is still a ton to play for this team. But it's all going to depend on how they respond this week. You can't let that demoralizing loss beat you twice, and you've got to get some of those issues on that run defense short up because this quarterback they're about to face, he's scary good. He can beat you in a lot of ways, most notably with his legs. And if Clemson is not on their, or if this Clemson team is not on its P's and Q's this weekend, like I said earlier, that home winning streak could come to an end this weekend.
I think we have 3 times as a win-loss playoff team, 16, 17, 20.
That is correct. 3 times. My memory's not what it used to be. I knew it was at least twice.